Put your red shirt on and a brown coat too. Everybody's joining the crew. We got just one ring, let we rule them all. Hope would remember your towel. Get your Ulu feathers and your needler guns. A sonic screwdriver or a sword plus one. Use Valerian steel if it will get you to come. To the pit tank. To the pit tank. The Rocky Mountain pit tank.
Hi, I'm Guy.
Hi, I'm Troy.
Hi, I'm Alex.
And this is Geek Tank.
Your Someone Got Best in Show Size podcast. Congratulations, Alex.
So, yeah,
Team effort. It was a team effort.
it was. And they were really good, too.
Hey, Brant.
Good team. And Brent is here, too. Wait,
Hey.
we just add that. We should just go and. There we go.
There you go.
All right. So, this past weekend, yeah, we will alert our viewers that Troy is remote and could at any time completely freeze. Just like that. I think the funniest part is you actually froze. That made it funnier. So, hey, Bob, we were talking about you this weekend. So,
yeah, my connection's coming in from New Orleans from the second floor of Bear. The signal's not that great.
Yeah, the signal really is kind of fading in and fading out.
Coming in from the Big Easy is Troy.
So tell us about Mile High Con.
Yeah, so, Alex, go on ahead. You want to lead? Because I know you've got lesser numbers of things, I guess.
Yeah, I work Mile High Con, and it was enjoyable. Bit of a smaller turnout than we expected. We are actually, it's been a little bit of a trend, so we're going to be moving to a smaller hotel next year. And we will be actually on Halloween weekend next year. I did check out the art show, beautiful. Did a couple little doodads here and there. Did some, got a cool pin that I need to get a whole bunch of for. Apparently, it's from Tea Turtle, so I'll buy a whole bunch for my non-DusCon crew. And then we had decided that like I think I've mentioned before that I really wanted to show my daughter Logan the film because she would make a great cosplay of Laura from that movie. And so we watched all the X-Men movies in release date order and got to Logan, and she was like, I don't know about this. Kind of give me some side eye. And then when Laura starts kicking ass, after that fight scene with Laura, she's like, "Did they get cool costumes?" Like, I'm sorry, kid, it's not that kind of movie. But we still watched it. We enjoyed it, and because I was like, you're the perfect age, and you might be next year too, but you're the perfect age to cosplay this character, and I'll cosplay Logan, and we'll do that thing. And then Laura, my spouse, she overheard us, and she's like, "Oh, I want to jump in on that." And so she dressed up like Lady Deadpool. And so we're just walking the con, just hallway costume, getting some pictures taken of us and stuff and posing. And then one of the people who works Mile High Con, she's been there for forever. She was like, "Oh, you should enter the masquerade, the costume contest." And we're like, "I guess, sure, why not?" And and then so we entered the contest, and I thought it was some poetic synchronicity that we were the 10th contestants. So we were the Weapon X team and the 10th contestants. So
it works.
and then And yeah, so we did that, and we had to go up on stage, and just for the practice run and everything, and then they came and asked us if they had any music or anything, but particularly want the MC to say or anything. I'm like, no, no, no. But I'm like, oh, so because of my wife's MS, so I was going to be first up, coming up the stairs and helping her, and then we'd get to our spots. And I said, okay, so here's what we're going to do. Um, so Lady Dip was going to, pose and stuff and be cute, and I was like, okay, so and then I'm going to like, get the berserker yell going. And I said, and when I do that, Nova, that's your cue to come running on stage and be on, mom's left, and also do your berserker rage thing. And that's what we did, and the crowd went nuts. Um, and
Wish I'd seen that.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I was in the other room.
Yeah, like we didn't think we are gonna win anything. We had a fun talk with the judges ahead of time, and they were just like, oh, well, what's this, what that? I'm like, oh, we got this from this, and this, closet, and this from thrift store, and 3D printed these for the claws for the kiddo since they're plastic, and I got mine from a prop shop on Etsy, and da 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 da, and they asked us some questions. Like, one question they asked us, like, what, if there's one thing about your costume, what would you have changed? And my spouse was like, I would have figured out a way to be able to go to the bathroom easier in this outfit. Because it's like a leotard and a thing, and it's like it's just a pain in the ass. And kiddo was like, I wish the claws were more comfortable.
Yeah.
If we like make them more like sized for her. And I was like, my wig isn't really correct, and I couldn't really, I didn't have time to get another one or to really try to learn how to style this one as just one shot, and I was like, yeah, I'll just wear it. But yeah, no, and like there were only 10 contestants for the adults, and even though our kid was like, kids can, since she was in our group costume, she competed as an adult, where the other kids were going singly for kids. There's like 3 kids, 2 or 3 kids, and 10 adults. We were the only group. And I mean, they gave out a bunch of awards. Like, each judge had their own award. There was like a crowd favorite award, like by vote. And there was like I forget, like there's like a couple other awards too. And there were like, and like everybody was cool. Everybody who competed like had like cool costumes, and like hanging out in the staging area, the green room beforehand. You're like, oh, check out that cool makeup that they did, and da, 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 and one guy did Doc Brown, and he had like a light up flux capacitor lunchbox thing going on that looked really cool. And no, it was sweet. It was very fun. And then it's like okay, and I actually thought I thought he was best in show. Like, I thought that's the award he got. And then they're like, okay, and our last award is going for, da da da, and then this group, and like, we're the only group, and we're like looking like holy shit. Like, this group really exemplifies kind of the spirit of cosplay, and they know how you don't have to be perfect, but they come in and they're doing their best, and they're not master level, but we're giving them best in show. And I was like, holy crap. And so we got like a ribbon and a certificate and a little acrylic trophy. It's like, damn, okay.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was wild and awesome. So yeah, and then I mean, there's other stuff, that of course happened. I'm second in charge of operations / in charge of security, so I had to deal with some of that stuff. And this convention, it's in the bag, it's wrapped, so I can say things were relatively quiet. We only had a couple things had occurred that were solved very quickly, and they only had one major thing occur, and it was it was between two vendors. And so we had to get vendor head involved, and and it was actually like when the person came and made the initial complaint, like one of the con chairs was in the room, so they were immediately involved. And yeah, and we got it resolved in a pretty good way. But it was definitely, I don't want to name names, but it was a situation where one vendor, a male, had a booth and had an author or two there, and he's their publisher. He's a small publisher, but still a publisher. And he was talking to a female vendor who is much smaller, in as far as business goes, and they agreed to and she was local. He was from the state, from Colorado, but not local to Denver Metro. And she was local to Denver Metro, and so he was like, "Hey, I'd like to talk business. Do a business dinner, and I can, charge it for tax purposes as a business dinner." And she made the decision to not go home to her family that evening, because that's kind of what you have to do when you're an artist and you're trying to make a living.
Yeah.
And so they went to dinner, and then he stopped talking about dinner and propositioned her, and she laid down a firm boundary, and he did not take that for an answer, and then he got shitty about it, quid pro quoing it, and offer type of thing. And yeah, it was not a good look. So, and then what we wound up doing is that we didn't kick him out that night or the next morning. The con chair that was there during the initial complaint, she showed up, and we're there, and it's a couple, me and the security guy and the vendor area head, and had a talking to with him. And it's like, this is not acceptable. You can keep your booth here, but you can't man the booth. You pulling your badge. You can have one of your people man it, or and people sometimes, they just leave early, but just because, it's like Sunday's the slowest day. Maybe they want to maybe they have something else they need to do. Maybe they want to get a head start on going home. That's fine. Flights, whatever. And but he opted not to do that. But it was but no, he did. One of his people manned the booth, for the thing. But he was also saying stuff. He's got very defensive and said many of the kind of generic defensive things that people often say when they're called out on their bullshit like that. So it's sort of like, man, maybe it was the first time he'd been called out on that particular line of bullshit. Okay. Consequences.
So, yeah, you still have to deal with the consequences of your actions.
Yeah. So that's my big story. Other than that, like I said,
story for the weekend.
Pretty copacetic.
That's good.
Yeah.
In general, I find Mile High Con to be very laid back and calm. It's especially in contrast with IndieK. It's very quiet, and it's a good con for people who get overloaded quickly. So I'm glad to hear that even on the backside, it's still calm. Hey, Forrest.
Cool, man. Yeah, it was great seeing you too.
I saw you for a fleeting second, Forrest, like a fleeting second, and thought, I will see you again, and then didn't. So felt really bad. I was like, aw. I saw Pyro. I saw a whole bunch of other people whose names now all suddenly escaped me, but they were all there.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of them.
And another thing that I did do, like it was like one of the few fan type things I did. I went to Rocky. And I haven't watched Rocky Horror Picture Show since like my first convention, like IV-Con down in Colorado Springs. I might have been 17. So it's been over 30 years. I was probably 16, and I hated it. And I didn't hate it this time. It was pretty. The first half was pretty enjoyable, but I do even further believe the thing I had read or heard or something that's like Rocky Horror Picture Show is a 2-hour film based off of a 1-hour stage production. Because wow, that second half drags. Oh my God.
Did you?
Oh
I
my
didn't ask you.
God.
Did you go to the Rocky Horror Picture Show as a movie, or did you actually go with a stage piece in front of it?
Oh, when I first saw it, I've only seen it as a movie, and both times I've been in convention spaces with fans doing
The
cues,
call
call
outs.
outs. At both spaces, they weren't actually throwing things, but I get it. They don't want to clean up the video room.
Yeah, although I remember them asking us not to throw things in the 90s at one point.
Yeah.
Especially condoms. That was the thing that apparently they were really mad about. And at least they were all still in the package, so.
Yeah. They weren't used or anything, or as you
No,
like to say,
that would get weirder.
spoiled.
That'd get weirder. But yeah. That's another one of those listed under. I remember those days back in those days when those were those days.
Yeah.
So, but you did get the call out, so at least that's that makes the second half markedly better.
One thing I did notice with the call outs that I didn't notice the first time I watched it was that they so this last Saturday night there were people of different generations, and talking to them afterward, like hanging out at the smoking area or whatever, different regions.
Yeah.
So they're all doing their call outs, but they're like, I'd hear from in front of me one thing and hear from behind me a different thing. I'm like, huh, that's kind of cool. And so and then afterward we were hanging out, and people were having smokes, and I was hanging out while I could before my noggin got me too cold. It was they were like really commiserating, like, oh, that one, that's cool, and they were like kind of like trading off a little bit and comparing notes, and I'm like, nice.
That is pretty cool. I've got to admit, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I know that it's regional, but I've never attended anything but Denver region.
Right.
And it's regional and it's by time. So it's another one that evolves. My version of Rocky, I haven't been to Rocky since the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So if I went today, none of the call outs would be the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's regional and by time. So
yeah. I mean, if I were a Rocky fan, which I'm not, it would be interesting to, like, if you're a fan and you know your region and you're kind of, you do your thing and do that, and like, okay, well, now I'm going to go to Crescent City. When's the local Rocky show while I'm here?
Right.
And check it out, like what's different, what's the same, what's cool.
That's fascinating.
That'd be really neat. But
it would be really cool.
It's not my fandom. So some Rocky fan out there, I give this to the collective unconscious.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like something that would be tangentially on my radar, but I'm not a Rocky fan either. The only time I went to Rocky was because I was dating the girls who were in the actual performance, and so
yeah.
And to support them, and it's just one of those things that I do when I'm dating people is I do the things that they do. So that made sense, which is cool. But yeah, since then, I haven't been to Rocky. Nor do I really want to. But I'm glad to hear. I mean, I didn't not enjoy it. But I'm glad you enjoyed it to some degree.
Yeah. The first half, I'm actually okay. Yeah, this is moving along, and I'm enjoying this, and I'm getting it, and like I said, like, of course, by the time the second half rolls around, it's like 1:00 in the morning, and I'm in a dark room, sitting in a chair, and I'm just like,
oh no, we just lost Troy.
Oh no, the city that forgot Troy. I mean, that Care forgot.
Yeah, Bob, I somehow managed to avoid that. Like the first time I went, I was as a +1 for the girl I was dating. And so they left me alone because I was a +1. Mm-hmm. And then by the time I was there not as a +1, I had been there many times, so they skipped the whole virgin thing. They don't do that anymore, though. Apparently, that was there were too many
Hazing.
people who felt that was very inappropriate, which I cannot disagree with.
Yeah,
I felt like
hazing.
that was
Not
yeah,
not exclusionary. You know. No, I didn't get labeled a virgin, though I absolutely was, because I was like, get that fucking shit out of my face. It's like
right.
I'm 16 and scrappy. It's like I will
Yeah,
throw
yeah.
hands.
I don't know if I would pull you up on stage at 16. That would
Yeah,
not have been as much fun as it looked like.
yeah.
I mean, and that's a thing. It's like that's another one of those my memory of you moments. Like my memory of you at 16. Yeah, I wouldn't have messed with you on that one.
Yeah, a whole lot of anger. A whole
I would
lot of
mess with you
anger.
now, but only because you're my buddy and you're really close, and you probably would know that I was messing with you because I was just having fun and not that
Oh
I
yeah.
was actually trying to embarrass you or anything like that.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah.
the odds are
And
good
like,
that you'd be okay with it.
and you
Relative.
know, 30 years later, Alex would, for a variety of reasons, definitely be like, you know, since my friends would know, going to Rocky and all this story. If we went to Rocky, it would be like they might be like, "Oh yeah," and so now, even though he's not a virgin, he didn't get the virgin treatment. Here we go, and I'd be like, "Okay,
Right. Bring it on.
do your worst. Put me in whatever
Yeah.
outfit you want. Tell me what cue to do
But I mean,
what."
I
And
agree with you, Bob. I didn't want to do that, and I
yeah,
found creative ways to not confront and to not get involved.
yeah,
So
it's true.
I'm sorry that happened to you, though, because like
Yeah,
I didn't seem to find that entertaining when anybody else did it either. It was hazing. I mean, I felt like it was hazing at the time,
hmm,
which I think is part of the reason why when I don't have a reason to be there, I don't go.
yeah, cool. Yeah, like in fact, like a couple of my staff really enjoy it, and they tried to get me to go last year, and I was like, "Yeah, I should do it," but of course, working, work got in the way. So then this year is like, it's like, hey, I can actually go this year. Cool. All right, let's do it.
Right?
Well, cool. And then
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So there we go. And then I think Guy needs to talk about science some more.
Science. I do. Before we get there, though, I mean, I wanted to just bring up a little bit of background for those of you who are not familiar with Mile High Con. It is the oldest still functioning science fiction con in Colorado, in Denver. It started out as Octocon back in 1967. Yeah, 67, 68. 68. Um, and ran 2 years as Octocon and then moved on to Mile High Con at the turn of 1970s. So so they're finishing up their 56th year. It is a wonderful convention to go to. It's a literary con, so not really high profile actors. It's not the same kind of energy you'd get from DCC or, I'm sorry, Fan Expo or even NDK. It's got a lot more of a small town feel as far as conventions go. And that's one of the reasons why I was glad to be there, because as my thesis started out, it was one way, and then as I ended up there at the convention, it evolved and they changed my thesis on me. It was actually kind of funny, because what I was headed for originally was the convergence of neurodivergence and geek culture, and it was refined while there by talking to people who were there, which was the question now really is, if you take sort of the concept that people who were LGBT were drawn towards the theater over the last century because it was a safe space, because it was one of the few places that accepted them for who they were, um, certainly a much higher propensity of neurodivergence in convention settings than there have been in the real world. So the question is, did we create our own safe space, or are we attracted to that safe space? Was it created and then we were drawn to it, or did we create it ourselves? And that's my new thesis du jour that I'm working on. It will take me some time to gather data on that. Because first,
you're going to have to dig up the first con, right?
I'm sorry?
You're going to have to dig up what was the very first convention and who started it, and then try to figure out if they were neurodivergent.
And that's actually what happened. I sat down with a con chair, the standing down con chair, who has been there for 30-something years.
As con chair, like 36 years.
Yeah, 36 years as con chair.
Yeah.
And I had a long interview with her, and she helped me. This is why I pick on my friends, because she helped me refine my questions while giving her the questions. So in the interview, she's refining my questions for me, which was awesome. Because I'll have to hit up others too. Like, I really want to go talk to Kathy Walker, who started up StarCon back in the 70s as well. But I did talk to Linda and was asking her about, because it's hard. Neurodivergence was not identifiable. We didn't know that it was a thing in the 60s and 70s when these things started showing up. So it's going to be difficult to pin down scientific terminology, because a lot of this is going to end up being well, of course, but we don't know exactly how to quantify that. You know what I mean? Like, I can say that neurodivergence shows up more prevalently at conventions, and everybody's going to say, yeah, of course it is. Sure. But how do you quantify that? And so that's going to be part of my ongoing research right now. Is I started doing questionnaires at Mile High Con that I'll be giving to people at random. And on the questionnaire is, do you consider yourself neurodivergent? Then I'm going to try to hit up some convention, like a dentist convention or something, with the same exact questionnaire and see whether we end up with the same results. I'm picking a dentist convention as a random thing. Somebody had also alerted me that there's a higher propensity of neurodivergence in medical fields too. I'll probably try to find something that's a little bit more reasonable, maybe like a football game or something like that. But even that could be slanting the numbers a little bit. Might hit a school or something like that. Like, maybe even just walk around my campus with the questionnaires. But the long and the short of it is that I'm going to have to quantify that. I'm going to have to quantify a lot of stuff. And that was, yeah, like an audio fest or that's actually good. That's a great one there, Bob. Thank you. Like any kind of sort of normal, I don't know, where do normal people go? Oh no.
Judging word.
So, oh man, so I ran into someone who's an OT for neurodivergence. So does occupational therapy for neurodivergent people. Oh, Taste of Colorado is a good one. And I could get beer. So since I like certain beers, I only like a very small sliver of beers, so it could be very.
Still going on?
I don't know, maybe. But something like that. Yeah. I thought but something like that's also a good.
Yeah. Street festival or something.
Street festivals.
Yeah. Oktoberfest.
Yeah, I guess so. 2025, yeah.
So anyway, I ran into an occupational therapist who primarily works in the field of neurodivergence, and they were talking to me about this whole thing, and they had all this information, and you could tell that they were also neurodivergent because they were hitting me on all of the catchphrases and things like that. And I said, I hate to tell you this, but as a cultural anthropologist, I use OCD in its cultural format, not in its medical format, because, oh, yeah, Chris Kringle Matthew, that's okay. I'll do that. Mark it. I like Matthew better, but I understood where you were going. So yeah, that was one thing. You know what else happened while I was there? I ran into our sponsors,
Wow.
like all three of them.
Would you like me to press the button, or do you want to do it?
I'll press the button
Okay.
because you probably have problems with buttons, but yeah. But while I was there, I happened to run into Kieran Games, Geekway Homes, the Massage Wizard, and amazingly, your
Your
mom.
mom. And then you ran into her again and again and again and again.
And again and again.
Yeah, I said hi or I walked by and like waved to them, say, "Oh, cool, yeah, you're one of our sponsors," and none of them responded. Actually,
Oh,
I think actually no, like Geekway Homes, I didn't see them there. I found
it's
their
because they were
table,
oddly out in the artist alley
but
or in the
like
author alley.
yeah, but like not Kieran, was it
Yeah, Kieran
Kieran Games?
was
Yeah,
on the corner
was in the vendor room, and I said
room.
hi, yeah,
Yeah,
and
Kieran Games and the Massage Wizard were on equals or on exact end caps from one another on that back row.
Mhm.
So you could hit both of them on the same.
Well, I mean, I know the massage wizards from way back, so we know them.
Well, that's what I'm saying is they were both in the same spot in the dealer's room.
Mhm.
Well, in spots.
Yeah.
And oddly,
Well, I know I'm breaking up on
yeah,
the.
position with Cambria, which I thought was cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
That's how I know them.
Well, I know that I'm
So-
breaking up, but I was going to mention briefly the stuff I encountered here. That they had a Taylor Swift concert last night in town, and
Nice.
things I mean, I don't know a lot about Taylor Swift to begin with, but things I've learned is that her fans typically are covered in sequins, wear cowboy boots, and leave a cloud of glitter in the air.
Craft herpes.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. Tara was joking that at the end of the day, you'll blow your nose and there'll just be glitter coming out of your nose from all of the specks in the air and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely one of those big communities, and they had a separate arena just for merchandise.
That doesn't surprise me. It's like I could imagine this is like a Taylor Swift con every time you have one of those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is cool.
But I got bracelets for everybody.
Cool.
For all my besties in my squad.
I'm not gonna lie, that's actually kind of cool. I'm into this plan.
Yeah.
And if you give yours to me, I will take it to our actual Swiftie in our group, who's right now in Japan.
Okay.
But
is that the one?
He's a moderate Swiftie, but he's still a Swiftie.
Okay.
But since I will be seeing him shortly,
for them. The whole ritual giving someone one, which I had learned. So
you learned the ritual.
Handshake.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't think he's that much of a Swiftie.
But so science. Yeah. So was the science thing the study that you did, or was there other science stuff?
I was doing so at the first convention that I went to on this one, which was IACon. I did what we called snowball. A snowball analysis is where you interview one person, and then you interview someone related to that person in some way, and then related in some way, and then related in some way. Thus, you catch through a network. You kind of move through a network on people. And this one was random
for snowball, but we'll leave that where it is.
Right. And this one was a random sampling where I intentionally picked on people I did not know, with one exception, but that's only because she insisted on it, which is fine. As long as I can't see which one was which, it should be fine. But the intention was to pick people I did not know. So I intentionally did not have Alex fill one out and stuff like that, because that would have tainted my results theoretically. And then I tried to pick people of different age groups and of obviously different fandoms. I actually found a couple of kids-ish 13-ish or so. There was a little squadron of 13-ish girls. So I managed to get some data from there as well. But this was my first real attempt at that. And then I did a long form interview with Linda, the con chair. And then I did a short form interview with a couple of other people, just asking them pretty much the same questions, but with some slight detail. So I'm gathering the data up here to prove the first piece of this theorem, which is there are more people at conventions that are neurodivergent than in the general populace. That's my first hypothesis to work through. That's going to take some time because I need to hit a number of different conventions and I need to hit a number of different people. And it would be better for me to hit some of these larger conventions. The problem with Mile High Con was it was smaller. So trying to get a good sampling size was difficult, but not impossible, just difficult. I think it's funny that as a cultural anthropologist, I start to wander through just seeing different cultures and subcultures. We just mentioned one tonight on this show, the Rocky subculture, which is definitely a very different subculture. So I'm very intrigued by the number of smaller subcultures that are inside the neurodivergent geek culture. And I had to identify a few artifacts to take with me because we have to do museum study artifacts. So I found somebody had one of those 3 fold-out boards with a whole bunch of maps and things like that for the convention on it in the dealer's room. That became my artifact. So I took pictures of it, many pictures, and I'm sure people thought that was very strange. They would walk up to obviously an information sign. Like, yeah, staffing subcultures is a completely different thing, Forrest. I completely agree, and fascinating. But the thing that I'm looking for with the staffing subculture is how many of us are neurodivergent on the staffing subculture. That's another aspect of this that's big. Like how many times, because if one of the things that we have is executive function failure, we also have social interaction failure, things like that, things that classically don't work well for putting on a large show. Skills that are typically bad. However, there's a lot of us that seem to be working there and people just roll with it. You know what I mean? And they've learned to deal with the fact that a lot of us have executive function failure. We all seem to have, short-term memory failure, all of these things because they're benefiting from the wild outside the box thinking. And that becomes very useful to them. That's the same pattern I have seen many times from the people who are in charge, is that they're willing to put up with those disadvantages because the advantages are very, very good in their book and worthwhile. So some fascinating science that went on this weekend. Coming soon to the next page.
That says, I'm doing want to help? ?
I'm sorry, one more time.
Did that come through? You need a T-shirt that says, I'm doing science. Want to help?
I actually thought about that halfway through. I was like, I should have just a sign that I sit on the table. It says, doing science. I also thought it might be cool to have like a setup where you have questions that have little like buckets, and all you have to do is just put one stone in each bucket. Are you neurodivergent? Yes, no. Put one stone in one of these, sort of things. That way people are completely anonymous. There would be a small error rate because, there'd be that one person who would throw 6 of them in there or whatever. So there'd be an error rate, but, still, there's an error rate in all of these. The problem with cultural anthropology is you have a built-in error rate because people are people. And so no matter what, you already have a built-in plus or minus that's always in all of your numbers. So you just try to catch as many of them as you can by trying to cross-reference with a couple of other questions. So, are you neurodivergent? Are you also a geek? Did you attend this con? Yes, no. And so that way, you can go back and go, why do I have 400 I'm neurodivergent and only 30 people attended this con?
Right.
Yeah,
and I know I've talked about this. I don't know if we talked about it on the show. Like I remember when you first said you're going to do this experiment around the D&D table, you had phrased it in a way that I took to mean like you were assuming everyone was neurodivergent. And
right.
then, but did we talk about that on the show?
No, we didn't, because I have been disabused of this.
Yeah.
Because I was starting with everybody's neurodivergent, obviously, because all of my friends are neurodivergent and everybody around me is neurodivergent. And then I started to realize that my kids in my classroom, only a handful of them are ever neurodivergent.
Mm-hmm.
And since you'd consider driving school to be pretty much a good cross section of just the average persons out there, yeah, all of a sudden I started to become disabused of the theory that we just have become more and more neurodivergent over time. Like culture has evolved more neurodivergence.
Right.
I mean, I think many factors are involved. I think obviously, we aren't being killed anymore, for being, left out in the cold to die or whatever it was that they did to us in the medieval eras. But we also are allowed to be a little bit weirder now, and we don't have to struggle so hard, which I think helps.
Yeah. So at that discussion, when I first brought that up, whatever I have, and I probably have something, or a plethora of some things, I'm undiagnosed. So I had asked them like, so what would I have? Like what's going on here? And one of our friends said that I have excessive personality disorder. So I actually think I need to make a shirt that says that, like a T-shirt.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say that you're necessarily because that was the other thing that this particular OT was talking to me about was neurodivergence covers a number of things, including Tourette's, which none of us in our group have Tourette's. But so, I mean, and it's because when I use the neurodivergent, it's because the actual term that seems to be forming out there is neurospicy. And it's that specific group of people who have autistic spectrum disorder, ASD, or ADHD, which is another term I'm hearing now. People who have ADD through to autism. That's that same spectrum that I'm concentrating on. They're using that term colloquially as neurodivergent, but of course, Zenderman, you're definitely neurodivergent to some degree. I just don't think you're necessarily in my bucket of people that I'm looking at the moment.
Right.
So, and not to say that I don't love you, man. You're definitely, but I think, it's one of those things. I know that a number of the people who I see over here on the right-hand side in the motor pool, I know for a fact that some of you guys are neurodivergent and have discussed that with us. So it's one of those things that's where I'm concentrating on. Mostly because I think we've developed our own culture, and that's the thing I'm fascinated by.
Cool.
To say that we're definitely here. Did I shut you down, Alex? I didn't mean to.
No.
Okay.
You just seem to be running out of steam. No, I
just
wanted to tell a funny little anecdote about what we were talking about. And
I love the anecdote. Yep, you're a neurospicy.
Yeah, caliente.
I really like the term neurospicy because divergent does have a negative connotation, and we're not necessarily negative. I mean,
let's not dog out the divergent fans, okay? They're fine.
Right?
No.
But I mean, I concur with the theory that neurodivergent carries sort of a negative load, and neurospicy does not necessarily. So, and I've been trying to, popularize the neurospicy term.
Cool.
Because I like that term. But yeah, that covers the ADHD through autism spectrum. And yes, I'm running out of steam. I just didn't want to shut you down.
That's cool. Yeah, so no, it's interesting. I look forward to further reports, Mr. Davis.
Yes, we have work to do, though. There's still lots of work to do, lots of data to collect.
Cool.
Which, for some reason, I find super fascinating. You'd think this would be boring, but I'm like, oh, this is so cool.
Cool.
It's a different neurodysfunction.
Right.
So,
any horror movies you guys been watching?
no.
Okay.
I rewatched Logan because I love that movie, and I showed it to a friend of in our group who'd never seen it. They've like, I've seen some clips and pieces. I'm
Oh.
like, let's watch this movie. And I
Yeah.
just put the box of tissues between us at the coffee table. I'm like, we're gonna need these. And we did. And then I wound up watching it again recently. I watched it with a friend, just the film. And then I was watching the extras on that, and including the director's commentary. And I've been saying ever since, like, getting to it, it's like the Unforgiven of the superhero film or the superhero genre. And one of the first things the director says is that he sees it as a cross between Little Miss Sunshine and Unforgiven. I'm like, cool, and one thing that he pointed
Combo.
out, yeah, it's that road movie and meeting people,
Sure.
characters who are fully realized themselves. But this one thing I really, I was like, I didn't articulate it every time I talk about it or think about it, but it makes perfect sense, and it actually matches up with another thing where, um, watching, I just rewatched the Tom Jane Punisher film. I did the director's cut with a old friend of mine, and he'd never seen the director's cut. I'm like, well, let's do it because it actually sets up some stuff really well. Um, and both of those films they're comic book movies, but they're character driven. Um, and so here are these characters who are doing these things, but the stakes aren't ever escalating into setting up the next movie to be even bigger, or the big blue beam from the sky, or well, we already saved New York, and then we have to save the world. Now we got to save the universe, and it's like, that's just, these people are doing their thing in their sphere of influence. And watching Tom Jane, like, use his brain to set up, it's like, oh, I'm going to have, here is this person who I want to sow doubt in their spouse's mind, so I'm going to steal their car, park it somewhere where it's like where someone else is going to be on a regular basis, and then here is a fire hydrant right here, so it gets bunches of parking tickets that then have to be paid, and questions will be raised. I'm like, that's cool. Doesn't always have to be like, what's the newest, baddest superhero, super serum, Iron Man suit, next Infinity Gem thing. And I really love it. So I've not seen the Carl Urban
Cool.
Dread.
Yeah, I really dug it.
Oh, wait, no, I did see that. That was the one with the building and
fun.
everything. Yeah, it was fun for an
Mhm.
action movie, but it everything that, I think Judge Dredd, as the comic, is at its best when it's but even so, it is still tongue in cheek and satire, and it's it's played straight, um as opposed to an indictment of uh the police state and
Mhm.
law and order. Though I did like how at the very end, the way that I look at the story and at the Dredd character, it's like, oh yeah, it's Judge Dredd, and the only thing he can think to do is shoot them because he's Judge Dredd. He has no other solution. Just kill them. And I'm like, yeah, he really is just a, if all you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail.
There's a kung fu version called the Raid that I recommend as well.
Oh yeah, I've seen clips. And the Ray, yeah, I do want to. One thing I noticed, just looking at the ye olde Netflix, and they always have thumbnails of things, and we do love the first two Kung Fu Panda movies, and so Kung Fu Panda 4 is on Netflix right now. And I was like, is that Tai Lung on that thumbnail? Because no one's told me, or I haven't read, I haven't seen, I don't watch trailers that Tai Lung is in Kung Fu Panda 4. And I love Tai Lung as a character, though he breaks my fucking heart every time I watch that movie. And in fact, I love that character so much, I want to play in a role-playing game as Tai Lung after he's been defeated by Po. And like have this whole arc of his as he relearns power and its application and backslides and the struggles that entails. But yeah, like whenever, if you're familiar with Kung Fu Panda, there's a part like he gets the Dragon Scroll, the secret to unlimited power, and it's reflective. And when he opens it up and he gets it, he's like, "It's nothing," and it's showing him. And every time he says that, I'm like, "God damn it! God damn it!"
I think the funniest thing about that whole setup is the number of martial arts movies that figured out martial arts in its own way. And it's always like the weird movies that you're like, huh? Like Karate Kid, the original Karate Kid, really didn't do a bad job of kind of getting to the soul of a lot of what martial arts is because of the whole juxtaposition of it. I mean, for an 80s movie, when martial arts was Bruce Lee, you know what I mean? Like that was martial arts. And it's like, and here comes, Karate Kid, which then starts talking about how it's not about power, it's not about strength, it's not about hitting hard. It's, which was a radical change from that. And the same thing with Kung Fu Panda, where I find a lot of the core themes of martial arts are actually well represented in a lot of good ways. And I'm like, something that you didn't really learn in the 1980s unless you were in a dojo. Then you'd get it. You go, oh, this isn't as exciting. I just wanted to boot some head.
I bought the pajamas.
I got the pajamas.
Boot some head right now.
Right?
Yeah, Leonine Monk would be cool. Also, like in sorry, I'm responding to comments.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
Concept. I was also thinking like it's in one of the other 5e books. It's probably Xanathar, might be Tasha's, but it's like it's a updated version of, I think, of a race from Eberron called the Shifter. That I thought that'd be a really good one too, where like you'd start off actually as, I was thinking like talking to the GM about it, of course, like starting off as like human, and that as he grows in power again, he starts taking those snow leopard characteristics again. But yeah, the yellow tracksuit, right? Does it come with the giant hip to neck footprint from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? Because no, yeah, I was actually playing a martial arts video game that I enjoyed but wasn't terribly good at, named Sifu. And because I wasn't grokking the timing. I was unlocking combos and stuff, but I couldn't get them to fire properly consistently. And I was like, I could spend a lot more hours actually like practicing this game and getting good at it, or I can go play a different game that I'm enjoying more. Okay. It's like, so.
I have a dog out there.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Just green screened it out.
Yeah. Just sometimes I'm like, I wonder about these things. Earlier today, there was a metal on metal noise that was like clank, 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 and I'm like, the heck is going on out there? It's like some weird stuff.
So we try their night costume.
Yeah, like I get some weird things. My house is backs up against a park, and so I'm always hearing like weird stuff from the park. It's not a bad park. I mean, it's not like the druggies can always show up here, but it is routinely like I'm not sure what's going on out there. always, always something. So yeah, I've got a question that Brent had brought up.
Oh.
Right? Well, it was actually somebody throwing something in the back of a truck somewhere. Brent had brought up 3 body problem. And I was wondering about that. I have it tagged in my to watch list. Would you call that more of a sci-fi or more of a horror? And if it's a horror, does it have a lot of jump scares? Because I'm going to go into that needing to know that information. Because if it doesn't have jump scares, I don't care. It can be all the horror it wants to be, and I'll watch it just the same. Because I don't actually have a problem with horror. I just have a problem with jump scares. So, but the question is it because I've been hearing good stuff about it, so I'm kind of curious.
I missed something. I don't know what movie you're talking about.
Sci-fi.
3 body problem.
Oh, okay.
There's a Netflix adaptation, I believe.
I think so too. Yeah, Netflix. And Brent's saying it's a straight sci-fi. Cool.
Okay.
Cool. Because if it's gonna be just because right now The Boys is on. There's a superhero in The Boys driving me absolutely crazy because she's just driving me crazy. So
Captain Jump Scare.
Yeah, pretty much. and so I'm constantly on edge watching The Boys, and I'm not really enjoying it as much right now. So I'm actually waiting until we start again back at Troy's house at some point, because then Troy can at least warn me that this episode's got that character in action, and I can be on edge and know that I'm supposed to be on edge. And then all the other episodes, I don't have to be on edge. I can relax a little. If I know that
point,
character,
I have to go back and
rewatch it.
At this point, I have to go back and watch them because I don't remember.
I know.
Or just look. I mean, there should be.
I don't want you to die from jump scares.
There should be a fandom wiki.
I can't believe I'm the only human that hates jump scares.
Well, if there should be a fandom wiki that should say all appearances of this character in the TV show, and just.
I'm with you. I'm with you so much, Joe. I'm so with you on that. Where's the Jump website? There is a website.
Oh yeah.
All right.
It's called Jump. I think it's called Where's the.
I am now. Oh, look at that! There's an entire freaking movie. Oh, I'm all about that one. Bob, you may have just changed my entire ability to watch movies.
Changed your life.
Yeah, I mean, literally. I can't stand them so much that I avoid watching things with them. And so I'm going to bookmark that page because I don't like the fact that I can't participate with all of my buddies who don't seem to have a problem with it. But I have a problem with it, and it seems unfair that I don't want to join the movies where they are. But it's an entire website on this. Television shows. I wonder if there's jump scares on this page. Ah, okay. Oh my God, there's jump scares in Black Mirror. Guess that makes sense. All right. I feel a whole lot better. Thank you, Bob. You are my bestest bud. Just saying. Save me. All right. I think we're running out of time, guys.
We are.
Mm-hmm.
We've come to the end of our rope. Tell Maggie I love her. She's just awesome. I love you too, but she found the website for me. So, I'm just saying, priorities. It's critical. All right. Well, I'm going to move on to my section of the universe and let you guys go on about your section of the universe. I hope you have a beignet for me. Remember, do not breathe in, do not breathe out when eating a beignet. Both of those can be bad.
Well, if you have to do one or the
Yeah. I think we understood some of that.
You said breathe out.
Breathe out.
If you must do one, breathe out.
Yeah,
if you have to do one, breathe out. Do not breathe in.
Curse this horrible connection. It ruined my snowball joke that I made earlier.
Yeah, it did.
All right.
All right. Do you want control of this, Troy?
Yeah, you go for it. You go for it since I'm all broken up here.
Okay. Are you all broken up?
I am.
Not all broken up. Well, give me just a second here so I can find the beepy thing. All righty. I found the beepy thing. All right, guys. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us, everybody. And we'll see you next week. And until then, I've been Guy.
I've been Troy.
And I've been Alex.
And this is Geek Tank.